Hi, and welcome to The Leader's Edge. Today, we are going to talk about lifelong learning. So, are you a lifelong learner? Do you enjoy learning new things for the sake of learning new things? If not, should this be something you should consider doing? In this episode, we're going to spend some time with Keitha Perryman, whom Georgia will introduce in a short while. She's going to share with us her passion for lifelong learning and why she thinks we should always be learning. So, to bring your awareness on this topic, I invite you to just rate yourself for a moment. Just take a moment and rate on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 means you're always learning, reading, listening to podcasts, taking courses, something of that nature. And just honestly pick a number to gauge where you feel you are on that scale right now. So, Georgia, let's introduce our lovely guest.
Okay, thank you very much, Emily. Good morning. So, wake up, everybody. It's Monday and it's time to learn. And who better to learn from than someone who is a proponent of lifelong learning? So, folks, we have in the house with us this morning Mrs. Keitha Perryman. And Keitha is what? Shy of 1 year, 3 decades shy 1 year of lifelong learning. She has been in higher education for almost 30 years. And
Wow.
Keitha is someone who I met many years ago when we did a master's program together. You remember those days, Keitha?
Yes.
One of the things I have admired about Keitha is how calm, composed, and measured Keitha is. So, Keitha, if that is a reflection of your take on lifelong learning, we want to hear about it. So, Keitha, why are you so passionate about lifelong learning?
Having been in education for so long, I know that to many people, the term finish school and finish degrees, they're so looking forward to that finish line. So it is important that we kind of shift that thinking and mindset from finishing, where you could recognize your achievement, but to recognize that at every stage, we still have more to do. So instead
Right.
of us being focused on education, we want to shift that to being focused on continuous learning
I
because the
like
world
that.
is changing. The world is changing. So everything you would have learned in school or when you did your degree will become outdated, and therefore you
Mhm.
have to match your skills to the world that you're living in. So it's an ongoing process.
I
Yeah.
love that, Keita. I love that. So it's not just about the finish line, it's about how you start. Because every new day gives us a new start and we're learning. So for me to be a lifelong learner, I don't have to worry about going to school every day.
Correct, because one of the things we have to be mindful of is that lifelong learning is not only about professional learning. You have
Mhm.
personal, professional, even spiritual, because
Mhm.
regardless of your religious discipline, you're not a perfect Christian or a perfect Hindu. So it's
Mhm.
Mhm.
something that you're working on all the time.
Mhm.
So, whilst professionally, depending on your industry, for instance, a mechanic, I
Mhm.
remember, yeah, I'm not don't want to age myself, but I remember taking the car to the mechanic and he had to drive it around to listen to the noise you're complaining about to
Mhm.
diagnose what's wrong with the car.
Wow. Mhm.
Now the cars have a brain, you hook it up to a
Mhm.
computer, you get a diagnostic. So it's not that we don't need mechanics anymore, but the
Mhm.
skills has to change. So you might still
Yes.
be listening to what that knocking sound is, but now he has this additional help. And
Mhm.
Right.
in many other industries, it's the same. I don't think you want your doctor to be treating you based on knowledge he got on his degree 20, 25 years ago. You would
30
expect that
years
your
ago.
doctor goes to conferences and keeps up to date on the newest medications and so on for different ailments.
Yeah.
So
Right.
if you separate the learning from what you consider to be traditional education, then lifelong learning doesn't sound as daunting. It just means keeping up with the skills you require for the current world that you live in.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I tend to have this thing that I say with my clients all the time is that if we stop learning, it's like
Mhm.
we would stop living. It would stop being
Mhm.
relevant. It'd be like there's no point, there's almost no points because I mean it
Mhm.
sounds kind of maybe a little bit mundane, but because for some we like this idea of the finish line. We like this feeling that we could stop. But when you stop, you get bored. What are
Yes.
you going to do with your mind? It's going to turn into mush. If you don't use it, you're
Mm.
going to lose it.
That
And we
is so
know
true, Em.
that's actually true, in some ways. It's actually
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
So
And you know what I say to Em as you just spoke? I said, the day you don't learn is the day you don't live.
yeah, yeah,
Correct.
it's going around the same theme,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's that mindset though of being willing to learn and
Yeah.
being willing to always be on the lookout for what else I could get from today. I learned one new thing today. It could be the simplest thing, like talking to a friend and they tell you something, and you know what? I never knew that. So now I
Yes.
can use that in my day to day. Very simple.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So
how have you
that's
seen it make a difference, Keita? So people who are lifelong learners, what has it done for them that you've seen different from persons who are closed off from learning?
mm,
A lot of people identify their worth by how
Mm-hmm.
much they can contribute. And
Mm-hmm.
how much you can contribute is directly linked to how much you learn. So
Uh-huh.
so even though I deal with many young people doing the traditional route, I see that sometimes when they finish their degree, they
Mm-hmm.
still want to do a course like strategic planning or
Mm-hmm.
project management, some other skill that they have already determined by graduation that they need in addition to their degree.
Mm-hmm.
Another group of persons that you see passionate now about lifelong learning are retirees. I,
Ah,
I, I make the joke that the re and retirees now for reskilling because
yes.
they no longer, whilst they still look forward to the long vacation and the cruises and so on,
Mm-hmm.
they get bored. So they also learn a new skill so that they
Mm-hmm.
can contribute in some other way, whether it's as a consultant in the same industry they work in or completely different field where they learn something new.
yeah. Or
Mm-hmm.
picking up a hobby that you have.
Yes.
Correct.
Picking up a hobby. Yes. Yes. Because that's,
Yeah, so you have the professional, but the personal is the one I'm most passionate about with things like emotional intelligence, where you could
mm-hmm.
determine that the skill that you want to improve is communication. So you want to be more of an active listener. So therefore,
Mm-hmm.
you are going to read about that or listen to podcasts about improving communication skills and so on. All of
Mm-hmm.
it makes
Yeah.
up the
Right.
lifelong learning.
Yes.
Right.
And I'm also passionate, and I'm sure you are too, Keitha, that yes, it's important to read and listen and all of that stuff. But if you don't practice,
Yes.
put
That's
Correct.
it.
something into practice, you didn't actually, I'm not sure if you actually learned it. What do you think of that?
Mm-hmm.
Did you actually
Yes.
learn it if we didn't actually practice it?
Aha.
Reflective practice is a very important part of learning.
Mm.
So I encourage, even if it's staff, student, whoever it is, to test how much they learn by how much they can share. Because
Mm,
if you listen to a podcast and it had an impact on you, and then you come to work and you tell a few coworkers, listen to this. I learned this podcast and they were talking about this. You think we could try to apply this? You think we could use it at our next staff meeting? You think we could use
Mm-hmm.
it in our next project? And that is really when you know the learning takes place. But that also that's how the passion builds. When you're able to share it with someone else and you see the excitement transfer from not just you but to a group, and
yes.
that is why this lifelong learning is important because agility, adaptability, those are the skills that
Mm-hmm.
the nation needs going forward. So if we
Yes.
get our people to be passionate about lifelong learning, then we can make impact in greater, I don't know, it, to maximize how much we
Mm-hmm.
can impact change in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
Or we'd make greater strides. Like it will be faster. The
correct.
implementation of things, the uptake of new technology. Because I mean, we're all talking about us being digital and being behind in the region, and partly
Mm-hmm.
that is because some of us are still kind of afraid of using technology or how to use it, and it's a learning
Yes.
gap, but also a mindset gap and thing.
Yes,
And
that's
as
true.
you said, if we adopt the idea of just learn one thing, and it's okay. Maybe sometimes I don't know. Are we not learning because we're afraid? Either we think we're good, we have reached a certain level,
Yeah.
and there's nothing more, or is it that we are sort of afraid to start over? Like have that beginner's mind where we are curious again, and we're gonna make mistakes because we're learning something new, and it's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable, and we don't want to feel like that. So I don't know. I don't
Yes.
It's
know.
a
Those are some
combination of
important
both.
questions. Yeah. Some important
Yes.
questions, Emily. Yeah.
Yeah.
And guess what, Keitha? As the executive director of UE Roytec, I'm sure you've seen people along that learning curve. You know, some just starting for the first time with formal training at the tertiary level and so on. Talk to us about, the journeys that you've seen people go through in learning, and how they present themselves when they're going through this journey.
Yes, well, we are so fortunate at UE Roytech that we have been catering to upskilling and reskilling for many years. So
Mm-hmm.
whilst we are known for our academic presence for the 16 to 25 age group now doing their degrees and so on, we're also well known for our training portfolio, which allows for existing employees and leaders to upskill and reskill. So we
Wow.
are presented with both types of students, and sometimes they overlap, as I explained before. Some of the
Mm-hmm.
students with traditional degrees already identify they need additional skills. Yes.
Right.
So now that the world is changing and we're going into a space of artificial intelligence, and people recognize that the soft skills have become even more important
Mm-hmm.
because AI is going to help a lot with the technical skills, but that pursuit of knowledge doesn't stop with just the technical skills. And
Right.
UE Tech has been focused for many years on the soft skills like leadership and collaboration and communication and so on. And we are still heavily engaged in that. And of course, preparing our students for the impact of AI.
Mm-hmm.
So, whilst the students present in different ways, we have to, as a higher education institution, understand that our role changes as well. So,
Right.
instead of just educating, we are creating a culture of continuous learning.
I love that. We put that on a billboard somewhere, Keitha. Put that on a billboard somewhere. Yeah. So for folks who are listening now and watching us, and those who are going to catch us on the replay, if there's one thing that you want them to leave with, or anything you want them to do, Keitha, what would you be saying to these people?
I think you should start with changing your New Year's resolutions. We
Ah,
always plan for the new year. One of the first things you should do with your New Year resolution is add one of what am I going to learn this year.
right.
And once you do that from the start, then you can say, to achieve this year, what do I need to do each month? And to
Mm-hmm.
achieve that, then what do I need to do each week? And then what do I need to do each day? So
Mm-hmm.
every single day you are contributing to your part to lifelong learning.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
it's important whether it's to listen to a podcast or if you decide you're going to learn a new language, whatever you determine to be your skill that you want to learn, you could decide, listen, I'm going to be proficient in this by the end of 2026. So to achieve
Mm-hmm.
that, I need to take these actions.
And you know
And
what I love about what you said? I mean, it just made me think that there are so many free ways to learn now. I mean,
Yes.
there's
yes,
Duolingo, there's University of YouTube. There's so many ways to learn now. I mean, that is free. So,
Mm-hmm.
what
correct.
time are we in to learn? And I really like to put the extra plug to test your learning by sharing,
Mm-hmm.
by sharing,
Correct.
because I think, again, if we listen and listen and we're gathering information, but if we're not doing anything with the information, it's just entertainment in a way, which is fine, which is
Yes.
fine. We're entertaining ourselves in a way that might be edifying. But again, if we're not actually using it, there might be a little gap there that we want to. And Keitha, so we're gonna talk.
Yes.
So this is the second time. This is the second podcast in which we are mentioning New Year's resolutions, Georgia. So we have
Yes.
putting plugs for, we're gonna start the new year just now, and it could be the new month, it could be the new week, whichever you start. And I think I like the idea about what you're gonna learn. So what am I gonna be learning in the new year, or what am I gonna be learning this month, or what do I want to focus? What will take me to the next
Mm-hmm.
level? Is what I like to ask. What is the gap that is missing that I could learn that would help me? And that can
Yes.
be shadowing somebody, just looking at how somebody does something. Because you talked a lot about the behavioral side and saying,
Yes.
I have a
But
gap in the way I manage those kind of situations. How am I going to get better at managing those kinds of situations?
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Improve the way I communicate with my team, the way I operate the way people see me, perceive me, and things
how,
like that.
Yeah.
how we build our relationships.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, we often
Correct.
forget that part of the lifelong
yeah,
learning that helps us
yeah,
with our
yeah.
relationships.
So
Yes, it's
there are two little things I wanted to also add. I feel like young people, Keitha, I don't know if you're getting this, but there may be, I mean, I don't know, I'm hearing it more outside, like in terms of from the international space rather than the local space, but because of the cost of formal study and stuff like that, you might find that younger
Mm-hmm.
people might be more interested or less interested in going into the formal education space and more into the
Yeah.
learning, like what we're speaking, just learning new skills and practicing them. I mean, I don't know if that's,
And from life experiences.
yeah, I'm curious if what is your experience of that, or what are you all seeing in that
Well,
space?
fortunately for our young citizens, a lot of the programs are funded by the government. So the cost helps. I think what has been one of the deterrents is the length of time. If you understand the generations coming after us,
Mm-hmm.
they prioritize differently. And therefore, a 4 year degree seems daunting because they want the skill now, just like they want everything else now. So we have a role to play in higher education in preparing what we call micro credentials and stackable
Mm-hmm.
qualifications. And so where a 4 year degree may seem daunting, they can do something in 6 months or 1 year to be able
Mm-hmm.
to earn an income from this particular skill
Yeah.
in a shorter time frame. You understand?
Right. Yes.
So the students who want to be lawyers and engineers and doctors, they are prepared for the length of time, the 7 years, the 8 years. They know what it
Mm-hmm.
involves.
Right.
But generally, persons with an entrepreneurial spirit,
Mm-hmm.
they
Mm-hmm.
don't want to do anything that's that long. So
Right.
unless you have to show the benefit of what they're achieving in the 4 years, that it's necessary to be able to operate at this particular level, and then
Mm-hmm.
also give them the little achievements as they go along. That
Right.
helps as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
Well, it's a microwave generation. I think even that is dated. What's a new phrase now, Emily? I don't know. What's quicker than microwave now?
I don't know.
Yes.
But yeah, so Keitha, go ahead, Georgia.
You know what I was gonna say, Emily? Keitha demonstrates what lifelong learning does. You see how easily she broke down the content, how she made it applicable right across the different generations. And that's what lifelong learning does for you. It's not just about book learning, but it's about your level of awareness, Keitha. So we really appreciate having you on this morning.
We do. We do.
Emily, over to you to wrap up.
Yeah, so Keitha, thanks for sharing. Thanks for coming on and sharing about what your passion for lifelong learning and why we all should be on that bandwagon if we're not already. So I'm curious as to, you all can leave comments in the messages. What are you reading? What are you listening to? What, which podcast that you like? What are some of the
Yeah.
things what are some of the skills that you thought you got that you probably didn't expect that you would have gotten recently or want to develop? I mean, even if it's cooking healthy meals, whatever.
Yeah.
That's all
I
skill.
started sewing, Emily. Remember, I started sewing.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I'll be curious to hear from the listeners out there. What are you guys? What are the ways that you've been learning recently? That might encourage somebody else to take up. And yeah, thank you again, Keitha. It's been great. And remember to add that question about what you want to learn next year in your
Mhm.
New Year's resolutions.
Resolution. Great.
Thank you.
It
Yes.
was a joy to be here.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Have a great week, everyone.
Yes.